Hey friends, welcome into another edition of 4 Minutes on Friday. Today we're going to follow up last week's conversation on curiosity with a little bit of discussion on truth. And this conversation is probably going to take more time than we have to give it in one sitting. So it may show up again because again, this is something that I am kind of processing and working through in my own life and my own leadership areas. We live in a time right now where truth seems to be very subjective, and this is not new. This has been going on easily. I'm going to say this really picked up a lot of steam over the last 20 years. When we hit the new millennium and the year 2000 began, there was a lot of conversation about truth, how subjective is truth? Is truth something that is local? What is true for us as Americans is not necessarily true for people on the other side of the world. Currently, the position and the place that truth sits in is in a very tenuous spot as well, because we have a very big conversation and in many places a very big fight going on with people who on one side of things say, I have all the truth, I have the truth. And then on the opposite side of that issue, whatever that issue is, well, no, I have more of the truth. And the first side speaks up again and says, no, but I have statistics and evidence. And the other side speaks up and says, well, we have more of the statistics and evidence. And then the first side speaks up again and says, yeah, but we have science on our side. And then the other side speaks up and says, yeah, but we have all of the science. You only have part of the science. We have it all. So there is this circular conversation where rarely things are landed very well. It creates all kinds of tension, and my guess is that you've probably experienced some of that, especially coming out of the holidays as we have, maybe with more time that you spent with family than had been in months prior. I don't want to argue or even form a position on how all of that breaks down and works out in our lives. I instead have been thinking a lot about how the issue of truth works itself out in a community that I am, one of the things that I do is I'm a pastor. And so I am, at least in part, in charge of disseminating the truth about who God is and what he's come to do, and how he engages in our lives. And I started thinking about this, I don't know, probably right before Christmas. I really started wrestling with this issue. How does and what does a community and an organization like the church, who holds on, one of the primary tenets that we talk about in church world is the truth of who God is and what he's come to do, and leaning heavily on those things and saying, this is the truth. This is the absolute truth. So what does an organization like the church do when truth is so subjective in our culture? And I'll just be honest with you, I don't have a real good answer for that. I don't think there are any easy answers. Because even in the conversation about what is true in church world has a wide breadth of conversation. So I don't think there are very easy answers. Here's what I do know. And I'm probably going to talk about this in some future 4 minutes. There was a study that was recently released. I think it's by Springtime. And it is a lengthy research project that was over the course of last year, 2021. And it is an annual study that they do, the study of religion in young people, I think is what it's called. I'll put a link in the description here for you if you're interested in such a thing. It is a lengthy document that they publish every year. One of the things, and there's a lot of information, a lot of really good stuff in that document. One of the things that was very present in that was that relationships still matter to Generation Z. I found that to be very interesting and encouraging. And here's why. The church holds in its hands the relationship is the primary piece of what it means to be a part of the church. Relationship with God and with others. And the church, I would believe, and there's probably some of you that might agree with this as well, the church has gotten way off base and off focus on centering on political things and centering on even taking care of themselves above and beyond the need to take care of others. Relationships still matter to Generation Z. And if there is going to be anything significant that speaks truth into someone's life, it is the relationship that we hold with those individuals. Relationship that is kind of on the outskirts. Maybe it is very casual. Maybe it's just with that relationship you have with people that you see a few times a week. Maybe it is an intense relationship, a very close individual who you see on a regular basis, maybe someone even that lives in your house. And what you really have to drill down on as a follower of Christ, and maybe that's not where you are. Maybe I'm talking to a smaller group of people. But if you're a follower of Christ, drill down into those relationships, not for the express purpose of getting them to come to church, but so that they would see Christ through you. Now, if you're on the outside of that, if you're on the outside of that relationship with Christ, that is something that's not something that you have pursued. It's not something maybe you even believe in. I would encourage you to engage in some meaningful relationship with individuals who are following Christ. Maybe that's trying out a new experience at a new church. I don't know. But relationships matter a great deal to the next generation. They should matter to us. So find a way to engage and deepen those relationships. All right, we'll see you next week.